This is Sarah's Last Request by Ray L. Lundy. It begins with a quote, "I may have all knowledge and understand all secrets. I may have all the faith needed to move mountains, but if I have no love, I am nothing." That is from 1 Corinthians 13:2. Death lay heavy on Sarah. Her doctor, one of the few who made house calls, had just left her room when he told her husband Frank the inevitable news. Sarah has only a few hours to live. If your children want to see her one last time, they need to come as quickly as possible. Frank, let me say it again. We are dealing with only a few hours. I'm so sorry. Call me if you need me. With those words burning in his mind, Frank feebly stuck out his hand to the doctor. Thanks, Doc. I'll call you. A few hours echoed through the canyons of Frank's mind as he watched the kind doctor drive away. Night was rapidly approaching as Frank moved swiftly alone to the backyard. There, with hunched shoulders and bowed head, he wept from the depths of a broken heart. How would he live without Sarah? How would he manage without his companion? She had been such a splendid wife and mother. It was Sarah who had taken the children to church. It was Sarah who had been their rock in times of crisis. It was Sarah who had mended the children's bruises, scratches, sprained ankles, and broken hearts. Her motherly kisses had mended many a childhood illness. It was Sarah who had made him a better man. When he was able to choke back his tears, he moved back into the house and asked his daughter to summon the other children who lived only short distances away. Within a brief period of time, all of them had arrived, 3 daughters and 2 sons. "They're here, Sarah," Frank told her. "They're all here." Sarah's breathing was more labored. Cancer had reduced the lovely, healthy woman to a mere skeleton, but her fighting spirit was still present. "Frank, I want to spend a few minutes with each of the children alone," Sarah stated weakly. Frank moved quickly as he responded, "I'll get them now, Sarah." Frank assembled the children, all in their 20s and 30s, in the long hall outside Sarah's bedroom. Each went in and closed the door to spend a little time alone with Mama. Sarah spoke lovingly to each of them, and as she spoke, she told each one how special he or she had been to her as a son or daughter. Each son, each daughter, had a precious few minutes with that loving mother as life ebbed quickly away. When Sarah completed her visit with the last child, the minister arrived. Frank greeted him at the door and ushered him to Sarah's bedside. Sarah and the pastor talked for a few minutes about her family, heaven, faith, and lack of fear. She was ready to go on to heaven, but she hated to leave her family, especially Frank. At that point in time, Sarah, Frank, the minister, and the children held hands and prayed. Frank accompanied the pastor to the door, telling him, "It will be a little while, preacher. The doctor says it will be just a matter of hours now, short hours, I suspect." When the minister had gone, Sarah whispered to her children in the room, "Get Daddy. I have talked to everybody but him." In a moment, the children cleared the bedroom and Frank came back. When they were alone, Sarah slowly, surely, sincerely put forth her last request to her loving husband. "Frank, you have been a good husband and father. You have stuck by me through these last months of suffering, and I love you even more for it. However, there is one thing that is worrying me badly. You have never been to church with the children and me. I know you are a good man. I have asked each of the children to meet me in heaven because I want us to be together again as a family. You are the only one now that I am worried about. Frank, I cannot die without knowing that you have made your peace with God." Hot tears of love and compassion streamed down Sarah's cheeks. Frank was a self-made man who operated his own little business. He was a no-nonsense person who worked long hours, and Frank had acquired his meager possessions the hard way. With 5 children to support and educate, he and Sarah had not accumulated much of the world's goods. Also, Frank was not much for emotionalism, and sometimes he felt that the church services were a bit emotional for him. In reality, he had never made much time for God. Frank, Sarah continued, please tell me that you will be with me and the children in heaven. Please, Frank, make your peace with God. Frank's heart melted with Sarah's kind words, and tears gushed from his eyes as the big man with the rough hands knelt slowly by her bed. Frank reached out, took Sarah's frail hand in his, and uttered a prayer of forgiveness and love that touched the heart of God. Frank rose from his knees, sat on the edge of the bed, gently took the frail, small body of his precious wife in his arms, and held her once more. They wept openly together, and from deep within Frank said, I'll be there, Sarah. I'll meet you in heaven. We'll be a family again. Don't worry, I'll be there, Sarah. I promise. I promise. Now I can die in peace, Sarah whispered to him. Easily, he laid her down on the bed and called the children into the room. Frank moved alone to the backyard, to his favorite crying spot, and purged his soul with tears once more. After that, he moved back to Sarah's room to be with the children for their death watch. Sarah's breathing was lighter and lighter, and as she lay dying, Frank whispered in her ear, I love you, Sarah, and I'll be there. Angels of mercy came and swept her away, and as Sarah passed from earth to heaven, she smiled. Death lay heavy on Sarah, but she was at peace because the man she had loved for so many years had promised, I'll be there, Sarah, I'll be there.